Welcome back to Game 2 between Millenium and Huma, and if you're just joining us, you missed a grueling Game 1 as Millenium were finally able to pull out a win in a 60-minute game. While that game was intense, we do have something to update you guys on. We were horribly wrong on the broadcast. We told you that Azir could not be a ground flying type.
He told you. He told you
and
that.
we forgot about Gligar, the fly scorpion Pokemon, who is in fact a ground flying type.
Azir is therefore ground flying.
All right.
Confirmed. And his best attack is God, no, I forgot it.
Whatever. Okay.
No.
Clearly, we've derailed this. Welcome back. Well, I swear we're more professional than this sometimes. Definitely not all the time, but definitely sometime. Game 1's now behind us. We look at that game and look at how it unfolded. Vedius, what needs to change looking into Game 2? What was the issue here? Where do we feel like this went wrong for either one of the teams?
Begins with B, ends in Ard. Because E-Alpha is such a great tool for not only setting up engages, but finding picks, roaming around the map, and I felt like he could have offered a lot more value for both compositions.
He said Bard for those confused. I got
confused by that.
You went Ard, like a pirate. Ard.
I said Ard.
Ends with Ard.
Ard.
You went Ard.
Because I like the gangplank too.
Bard gangplank. No,
Bard
I mean,
gangplank.
But having that reliable engage seems so crucial, and I think that's one of the reasons why we see Bard be such a popular ban against some of our more experienced supports in the EULCS, is that it is very good engage, is very reliable if it ever gets the opportunity, or if you're proficient at playing it, rather.
So why I'm doing this, Sifa, is because this is a timeline. And what I want you to think of is back at the start of Challenger over here, we had this setup, right? Which was very much, we had no engage in the top, we had no engage in the bot, and you and I, multiple times, casted saying people need to shift to a utility AD carry meta because that's where your engage needs to come from, because it's not the jungle anymore, it's not the top lane anymore. And so that's why we're seeing things like the Sivir, like the Ashe, and basically a means for which you can start a fight. And we predicted the potential of an Ashe to come out from Tabs.
Wait, but I feel like
there was the potential for the Sivir to come out from Chrisland. And if we just look back at the AD carries, yes, the Jhin did a lot. He actually set up a lot of picks, and there are a lot of great tools. But you need to, and something we noticed regularly was they were actually very good at counter engages. I mean, when they were able to follow up on the initial engage, it was great for them. But for Huma, if they just plonked a Sivir in there, think of how many more picks they could picks they could have got.
Well, maybe pinks too, but that doesn't really correlate to Sivir. I want to look at this again, because we're talking about not having engage options, but at the same time, we're looking at a Shen Rek'Sai Jhin on one side. That's a lot of engage. That's a lot of lockup.
Maybe we're not. Maybe that's unfair on me, because
it feels like the realistic thing is that there's so much disengage on the opposite side.
It's the severe lack of hard crowd control. There's not like if we just think of an Ashe arrow. If you get hit by an Ashe arrow, that is hard CC. That is going to keep that person still.
That is a go button.
Yes,
that is a definitive. This fight is starting.
Certainly, right. So that is, and that is somewhat that they were lacking, because a Shen taunt is like, meh. You know, like, that's not really a reliable way, especially when it's quite predictable. Yeah, you can get the flash taunt, but even then, if you can see it coming, it's something that a lot of pro players can read. And then Gragas is very the same. He caught a couple people out of position, which is the flash body slam, but a lot of the team fights were set up that you had this very clear, distinct backline, frontline, where you had the Gragas sitting in the front for pretty much all the time, body blocking all those Jhin ults, which is a large reason as to why he died. And then you also had the Rek'Sai and the Shen, who were sitting in the front lines of the other side. So it was a mess, because neither team really saw an opportunity, a real opportunity to force a fight, and which is why we saw a very slow early game. Like, we saw a couple jungle ganks here and there, but the vision control is very solid from both teams. And for this game, I feel like we just need to see more high engage options. And the reason why we didn't see Sivir in game 1 was also because she was banned, which is why we didn't see her picked up.
Yeah, of course, and we'll have to see if that continues to be banned, because we saw Hecarim, we saw Olaf banned as well. So these champions that just can functionally engage whenever they want to, that can ignore a lot of those disengage abilities, were taken off the table. But looking back at Game 2, we had a pretty impactful performance from both AD carries. Chrisland really bringing out some good damage in the early game. But when we look back at those stats, I mean, Tabs, 12 KDA, 474 CS, crushing it. Chrisland, so much more CS, but a 0.67 KDA. And it feels like when you pick a Lucian, you just cannot let the game go to 60 minutes. That is not your time to shine. That is when the Jhin starts one-shotting people, and you can see Tabs there, 12.0, refused to die in those fights.
Like, the difference is, for Chrisland to kill someone, he'd have to be here, right? Whereas if Tabs wanted to kill someone...
Now show me where Jin has to be. Thank you.
Show me where Jin has to be. So Jin, he could be over there in the prep room.
Yeah.
Where he doesn't even have to look at you. You can't see him because he can literally kill you out of sight.
The prep room is a decent distance. Of course, you guys have... You need to, like, clarify. It could be further away. You need an example that...
It could be miles away.
Tangible.
It's irrelevant. The point is, he's not in this room, and that is how far away he needs to be, right? Because it is so hard. Lucian is so low range. He doesn't scale that well. I mean, if you build that much crit on anyone, they're going to do damage.
And the thing is this is not the late game crit Lucian build that we see. We're looking at the mid game build that is the Black Cleaver Yomos. Yeah, this is not like the SKT days of building around Bang playing Lucian and having this guy be this insane late game carry.
Plank.
Bang.
Bang plank.
Bang playing Lucian.
I
slurred there a little bit. English is hard.
I was like, damn, bang plank, gang plank? That sounds awesome.
Bang plank. We could say bang plank, which would make me relatively happy.
And you've been defeated. No. I was going to say bang, the dirt is gone. But you won't get that reference because you're not British. Anyway. Continue with your point, Sifa.
We're not seeing teams build around the Lucian. He's not...
No, you're right. You're completely right.
Despite the fact that Doublelift does play it all the time in NA, and that we do see it as an occasional pick here.
We saw G2 try.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel good.
Yeah, I agree with you. I completely agree. Engage, and again, good mid-game team fighting with the Victor. They're taking this away from Pretty because they did feel that his wave clear was a little bit too prominent. So my slip of the tongue was actually an accurate prediction earlier on.
Hey,
all
of course,
planned.
Zilean, and here's the interesting one. Zilean, something we see in the mid lane so frequently. Morgana coming into the bot lane for Masterwork. Now, not a pick that we see a whole lot of. What do you think is the use of Black Shield Eater? I don't really see, there's not a whole ton of upfront CC that they're going to be able to block.
No, but it combines well with the pick potential from the side of Millenium. You also add an even scarier Trundle on the front line. Imagine not only a Trundle that is tough to kill, but also is immune to CC. And so your engage options are just a little bit stronger. So the follow-up hard crowd control that we were talking about as well, just think of how much better this is for Millenium to actually start fights off, because you have the double bomb, you have the Ashe ult, you have the Gragas ult, and the amount of disengage this time, yes, is still pretty good from Huma because they have the Victor and the Braum, but when you have this much CC, it's gonna not do as well. And also, Morgana's very good into Braum.
And additionally, we have to remember that this is a comfort pick for Masterwork. He's played it twice already in the season. He's 2-0 on it thus far. It's been pretty good for him. It's something that he knows how to play. It's something that he's played around for a long time. But looking, of course, the one pick we didn't get a chance to talk about was JWoww's Gnar pick coming out in the end. And this is the counter pick to the Trundle matchup. Now, the one time we've seen this swing in the past is the Rift Herald. Do you really think that this is going to be a central focus now that we have such a swingy top lane matchup, or are both teams just going to be content to let their top laners farm up?
I feel like they just need to play a passive early game once more. Once Ashe gets level 6, I'd love to see some Ashe ult plays up in the top, because if you can set that Trundle up at all in the early game, get him a slight lead, then Gnar pretty much loses all pressure that he has, and then he basically can't do anything against the Trundle. So very early success for the Trundle. I feel there's something Millenium need to look for in the early game.
Now, we saw standard lanes last time as well.
Yes.
Lane swap, a decent way to deal with this, or do you think we should pit them 1v1 and look for more jungle pressure?
It's a tough one to say, because honestly, the Morgana's a good pick into the Braum, but when you just match up a Braum Lucian and the all-in potential onto an Ashe, you could argue that the Morgana is Millenium saying, hey, we want to go for standard lanes, but they also could look to, if anyone's going to avoid it, would be Millenium.
And I feel like the big issue here is that pre-6, if that Morgana ever misses a binding, someone is dead.
You can't mindlessly throw out that binding. You have to use it defensively. Yeah.
Of course, guys, as we get closer to the end of the season, be sure to tweet out your favorite Rootin' Tootin' plays with the hashtag CSBigPlays. When I wrote that, I felt...
Did you write that?
I wrote Rootin' Tootin' Big Plays. I wanted to say something like...
American?
No, not... Well, is that American? I don't even know.
I would never say that.
Rootin' Tootin'?
Rootin'
I don't think most Americans would ever say Rootin' Tootin'. It's like a 60s thing.
We're rootin' tootin', y'all.
CS Big Plays. Let us know, you know? Maybe you're a big fan of the way Hansama 2v or 1v1's a Cassio. Maybe you think that's a CS Big Play from yesterday. Maybe you got something from today that just blew your mind. Impaler, CS Big Plays, body blocking every curtain call ever. Blew your mind. Maybe, maybe not. Let us know, because we want to see them. We want these highlight clips. This is what we do. This is what we love.
It is. I like that sum up of our job description. Anyway, hashtag Millenium win or hashtag Huma win. Let us know who you think is going to be taking home game 2. We do still have, at a minimum, 2 games left to go. But with Millenium leading the series 1-0 right now, they could look to try and close things out a little bit sooner.
And I got to say, I like the way things have switched up here in picks and bans. Here we are, as you mentioned, Vedius, 2 more games potentially ahead of us if Millenium want to close it out with a 3-0, but Huma a lot of room to come back, maybe looking to bring it to a game 5, maybe looking to take it in 4 games and close out with confidence themselves.
Gonna make a bold prediction.
Yes.
I believe this game will be faster than game 1.
Bold prediction. Ladies and gentlemen, if the game is longer than 60 minutes, Vedius will be wrong. Stay tuned for that. But
you'll have to stay the whole 60 minutes.
Yeah. Which you should, because it's Challenger. And you love it. And JWoww going to have to back away here. Of course, that flash being burned out. Masterwork trading his flash for the Gnar's flash, and they're moving up for the lane swap. Now, if this was not a lane swap, I would say that was a big mistake, giving up that Morgana flash. But I feel like it's okay for them at this stage.
I think early on, not having a flash is not too bad as long as you maintain decent vision control and just are mindful of the potential collapse from someone like a Rek'Sai. But I agree with you. Setting up for the lane swap is much safer.
I like that.
Simply because you're always a man advantage up.
And, you know, I like your analysis there. You know, not having flash is fine as long as you don't need flash.
Is that what I said?
For 5 minutes, no. Not at all. You made a good point. Playing safer, have to play safer. Have to respect the fact that you do not have flash in those exchanges.
So there we are. Lane swap coming out from Millenium. Wanted to avoid the 2 versus 2. It's especially good for Kaze, you know, just getting him away from JWoww, making sure that he can't be bullied around because of how obnoxious that Gnar can be.
And this is really interesting because rarely do we get to judge challenger teams on how well they can execute lane swaps in these high-pressure games. We do see a decent amount in the Challenger Series, but now that it's high pressure, now this is full series, I'm really wondering if these guys can keep up an execution because simple mistakes here can cost so much.
They certainly can. We've seen whole games be decided on lane swaps in the LCS. We'll have to see how things go here, but with the number of Barons that were taken before in Game 1, I feel like that any manner of things can swing Challenger games.
Yes, it is. There are a lot of variables.
Yes, there are indeed. So, standard stuff coming out so far, nothing too crazy. I'm actually more interested in this mid lane matchup simply because it's Zilean versus Victor, which
give us what we want, observers.
Often don't see it. We did see it in the Giants versus H2K, where Knight brought it out and had some fantastic double bombs.
Oh, yeah.
And in these choke points in particular, the double bombs can be so game-changing. So I want to keep my eye on Pretty and how well he can use the Zilean, because it really can be a surprising carry.
Cadril, though, taking advantage in these trades. Zilean, of course, still farming up, no problem, staying relatively even thus far. We got to keep our eyes on that health bar. Zilean relatively weak here in these until he can start clearing out those waves. Turret's now going to start to drop. Millenium going to drop this one. We'll have to see how far ahead they are. Looks like only a few seconds here. No real difference in the swap.
Well, actually, you say that, but look at this. Quick push coming out from Millenium. Just trying to shove it into the turret as quickly as they can, whereas Huma have actually decided to go for the bounce, which means that JWoww, he is going to stick around for a little while in the bottom half of the map and just keep, soak up as much of the farm as he can, and this is going to result in the wave pushing back in the favor of Millenium in the top side, but that was going to happen anyway. This just means that for Kaze, he's going to get a bit of extra farm, but it's not going to result in any real net gain. The only difference will be a bit of a tempo advantage in favor of Millenium, because they did go back first. Tabs is going to get to the lane sooner, and it's already going to be pushed up slightly further, and they'll have a minion wave available, so they will hit that turret first. But overall, in terms of the swap, I don't think it's going to be game-changing.
What's interesting here is that you can see Cadril taking, the aggressive stance in this mid lane is really starting to pay off already. A 7 CS difference, despite them now being even in terms of wave pressure. That one crashes, of course, a little in favor of Victor here. Overall, nothing too crazy yet.
This is typically how the matchup goes, because Victor can trade quite well with his Q. It doesn't cost very much mana, and there's no real way for Pretty to trade back, because his main concern is on wave clear. But he does have the teleport, so Pretty can afford to just burn all of his mana on clearing waves. Make sure that he goes back, comes back with a... I imagine he's going to go for either an early Rod of Ages. He could go for a Tear, largely because large mana pools and lots of cooldown reduction are super valuable on a Zilean. So those are the typical item builds. Morello into Row is the most common, but I have seen a couple Tears from here and there. But in the early game for Pretty, he just gets pushed around.
Yeah, just not looking too comfortable there. Mana traded for health here from Cadril.
Yep.
But not going to be able to get too big of an advantage. Zilean just going to back. Does have the TP, though, so pretty easy for him to just continue to take losing trades and teleport back to lane. You can see Trundle on the top side hitting that bush for a bit to get extra experience. Has now TP'd down bottom to keep this trade going. And interestingly enough, Huma are going to opt to funnel all of the gold into JWoww. So not going to be quite the same here, actually, on the side of Millenium, interestingly enough. Not going to give over all 400 gold to the top laner. Going to split it up at least a little bit.
So even with the slight tempo advantage that Millenium gained, couldn't quite take the tower down fast enough. That's somewhat in part due to Lucian's great ability to clear the wave behind the turret.
And I spoke too soon. It looks like they are going to give all the gold over to Kaze.
It's a dangerous thing as a play-by-play to call it when it's not on screen, Sifa.
I mean,
you said it yourself. You just talk about the things that you can see.
Pink ward, masterwork run. Wendell Boo walk down.
Wendell Boo?
Yeah,
oh,
I call him Boo. He makes some plays on this Braum.
I feel like... No, I'm not going to go there.
I feel like that's inappropriate? Yes.
No, I was going to say that. That almost sounds like a Pokemon, but I feel like we've killed that enough. Anyway.
I feel like we say that, and yet we're always like... We're so guilty about it, but we want to just talk about Pokemon every time we get the opportunity. It's our childhood, and it's back!
It's back. I mean, I grew up on Pokemon Blue. It was the first game I ever played.
Yeah, stop trying to get some hipster cred here on the broadcast.
That's hipster?
I feel maybe. I don't know, dude.
Dude, if I was a hipster, I'd be the worst hipster ever.
Why?
Because
what is a hipster, Vidius?
I don't know, someone who looks and
How do you
listens
know
to cool music and is like cool, and I don't know, that to me that's what hipsters are. They're like, we're edgy. We listen to, they're the type of people that sit with their Macs in a coffee bar and drink lattes during their day.
90% of Americans.
Is that what America's like?
It's like every college student in America who has not had enough computer science education to know that Macs are a terrible investment. Unless you do creative work, in which case Macs are pretty solid because they just run Photoshop so smooth. But Tabs continuing to push in. Millenium moving forward. Binding going to land out there as Kaze TP's down to the bottom lane. But they have sight in the bush, so they know they have the man advantage now. Flash forward. Tabs running for his life here. Will be able to throw out the volley to slow it down, but Gnar is coming in. Binding goes down. Great shot. Slows continue to come in. Flash forward. Knock up Tabs. Now he's set to fall. There's no way he's making it out. Concussive blows and the first blood to Impaler. Great response from Huma.
Super risky of Millenium to have their bottom lane so overextended without any support from the top or the jungle. If you want to put pressure down onto the tier 2, you need to match the numbers. And for Millenium, they just did not do that, which resulted in the collapse coming out from Huma. The very early flash was gone from Tabs. He didn't have 6 for the disengage, and it just resulted in a clean first blood going in the way of the red side.
Happy to have it. Decent gold advantage too at this stage. Not only do they have the first blood, but they have, a marginal farm lead here in the mid lane. Looking to get up to about 10 CS if he gets the opportunity here as these waves trade back and forth. But now Morgana's moving into the mid lane, and suddenly Caedrel could be under threat here.
This will slowly start to shift because Caedrel, believe it or not, won't actually be able to match the sort of pressure and wave clear coming out from Pretty, because you can just throw these bombs out all the time. But interesting that they actually decided to send Tabs in the mid. Because the wave got frozen in the top half of the map by JWoww, he's going to be able to soak up all this farm. And they've also sent Kaze to the bottom half of the map, so Tabs has nowhere that he can really go. That means he's forced to move into the mid and share farm and experience with Pretty to get a bit of damage down onto this turret. So unfortunately for Tabs, after that gank, it's going to hurt him a lot more than just losing that wave.
Nice double bomb, and teams get more aggressive to contest in this second game. They're not looking to take this one long. They've gotten the kind of the jitters out here in game one. Looking to contest significantly more aggressively, but honestly, Tabs all over the place, roaming the map, trying to find an opportunity to make an impact. The lane swaps have opened the map wide open here in the early game. A lot more opportunity for teams to look for aggressive plays.
Tabs now has hit level 6, would be great. I just wanted to see him do cross maps arrows, just throw it in mid now.
The sniper.
Just go for it, yeah. I mean, I feel like early on, there's nothing to lose from just throwing out an arrow. You just have to play a little bit more defensively because you then don't have that hard engage. But Binding does land.
Oh, Diplo goes in. Is he going to be able to get anything else? Joko, he wants it. Is going to knock Wendelboe to safety, but they are going to move in to try to burn down the tower now. Trundle hasn't used the ultimate quite yet. Frozen Domain letting him get down a bit more damage, but Joko potentially in trouble. Is he going to get burned down? Coling blocked out by Masterwork. Flash forward from Chrisland. Not quite enough. Heal has to be burned in the end. Millenium overextend a bit, and meanwhile, JWoww's just been farming up on the top side, starting to build himself a decent lead here.
I mean, that fight was actually a great setup for Millenium, but I felt like Joko, he held on to his ultimate a little bit too long. He had the mana for it, but just decided not to use it. Gave Wendelboe way too much time, and it was just a bit of a mismanagement of crowd control, which resulted in no kill going over for Millenium. Joko almost lost his life, and Chrisland, a patch or two ago, he might have been able to get that kill, but
little more
because of the
calling range, little more range on the
Q could have netted him a kill, but it is going to force Millenium back. Huma now in a great position on the right side of the map to set up that vision, move in, take that first Ocean Drake.
And this failed play from Millenium starting to cost them pretty dearly. Gold lead continuing to extend from Huma, the Ocean Drake backing them up as well, and in a lane that's all about wave clear and not about trading with the opposite champion, Victor's going to be pretty happy to have that additional mana regen. Just letting him stay in this lane even longer.
So now we return to a lot of side wave management, allocation of resources. If you can see one laner falling behind, it's likely that they have a big minion wave pushing towards them that they can then soak up. And yeah, we're going to wait a little bit more, it seems, Sifa. Tabs, he wants to wait for his items, be like, nah, I don't want to force anything just yet. And to be fair, on Pretty, the base damages are decent, but you really need that cooldown reduction, and that's where the damage really shines, because of the double bombs can pack quite the punch if you are not prepared for it.
waiting, you know? Looking for this chain CC. Where the cross map arrows at? Tabs in the bottom lane.
Cross maps arrow at. Doo -doo -doo. I just made up that
What'd I
song.
say? What'd I say, Weird Al? What'd I say in game 1? I said you sing your heart out. You proud little man. Don't let your dreams be dreams. Also, this is something we talked about earlier in Champions Select, the potential for Rift Herald to drop and what this buff could mean on the 1v1 matchup. Millennium do not look eager to give this one up. Here comes the cross map arrow. It's going in. It's going in. Wendelbo with the block. Is it going to be enough? 5k health left on the Rift Herald. I haven't seen this much attention in so long. Kaze caught out. Knocked up. Not even going to get the chance to ult. Oh, no. Zillion going to bring it back to life. JWoww in trouble, though. Second bomb. Meganard. Meganard. Oh, my God. That was so close. They're moving out. No, suddenly the Chaos Storm. Kaze, he's going to fall. What a back and forth exchange. Huma get the 1-for-0. Cadril not done yet. Wendelbo jumping forward. Black Shield gonna buy a bit of time, but my God.
We got so excited because we got to see an early game fight for a change, Sifa, but that could have gone so even if he hadn't turned into Meganar, but now Joko, he has no flash.
Oh, nice sidestep. Masterwork burned the binding. They're moving forward. Are just gonna have to back off. Masterwork, no fear though, knows he's safe now that the CC has been moved. TP coming in, Kaze's on the way. The dissing,
whoops.
Goes wide.
Send a message.
Disengage goes wide. That's what I was gonna say, and I was like, oh, well, that missed.
Give me a V for no. So no ultimate landed for Wendelbo. It's going to be enough though to force the disengage, and you can just see that both teams want to try and force this. Good shield from Wendelbo to stop the ultimate coming down to any priority targets. Joko again delays the ultimate. That was such a good setup. The bomb comes down to JWoww. He's just about to die, and then as he turns.
You gotta see, he uses the wall up there to turn, to force the transformation early to get the health.
It was just so good. And then Cadril just being hyper aggressive, does slightly more damage than Pretty at this point in time.
I mean, crazy.
Especially with the Chaos Storm.
That was a big play.
Definitely was.
Some might even say a hashtag CS big play.
If only there was some way for us to track that on broadcast and somehow show that at a later date. That was your opportunity to plug.
No, we plugged already. That's the thing is, I was going for not so subtle subtlety. Like, have you've seen Wayne's World, right?
Wayne's World. I've heard the name. Probably have seen it.
No, it's the great. Oh, Vedius, no.
Wayne's World. I'm sure I've seen it. Is it a cartoon?
No.
Oh, then maybe
no,
not.
It's a movie based on an SNL skit, and like most of the movies based on SNL. Well, actually, that's not going to say
SNL.
Saturday Night Live. Am I?
Oh, Saturday
Am
Night
I going
Live.
entirely American here on you? Is this too much for you?
Our only talk shows are like Jonathan Ross and Graham Norton.
Yeah, those aren't even people to me. As far as I've never heard of those names.
Probably a lot of our viewer base hasn't heard of them either.
You could be making that up. I'd have no idea. Wayne's World, great film. We're gonna have to watch it after
Wayne's
this.
World. Straight after this.
I mean, maybe not.
The arrow.
Wendelbo once again blocking it out, but someone has to tank that arrow, and Wendelbo is caught up a creek without a paddle. Is he going to get locked down? Double stun. Kaze moves in. Kaze not going to drop. Joko ready to go in. There's the ult. Krislin knocked forward. They're looking for more, but Joko has he overextended. Chaos Storm goes down. It is such a bloody game. Bomb in the back lands on. Both teams so eager to fight. Another one kill picked up for Millennium.
But Joko's Gragas, I'm having some real questionable thoughts right now, because I mean he's just mismanaging his abilities. Insane. It's just ridiculous. He holds on to the ultimate now for the 3rd time in a row, when that could have just been a very clean and easy secure, and instead he holds on to it to force the ultimate down onto Krislin. Yes, he gets his summoner spells, but there was no way they were going to lock down that kill. And he uses his E with the expectation that there was follow-up. Kaze was already forced out of the fight. The engage and CC had gone from Tabs and Masterwork.
Oh,
and now Kaze's getting collapsed.
This is not what you want. No subjugate available. That is one very squishy Trundle. Down goes Kaze, down goes the Troll, and JWoww completely owns this topside matchup right now.
I feel like Millennium are making some pretty crazy decisions right now. Their setups are very poor for their objectives. For example, Tab's trying to force up in the top lane. He shouldn't have been there. It gave away first blood. Yes, they get the collapse down in the jungle, but that could have been a much cleaner setup for Millennium. And again, now, Kaze in the top. He doesn't have flash, he doesn't have subjugate. Why has he crossed the danger zone of the river? There's just very, very messy stuff coming out from Millennium early on. It makes me wonder if the fatigue of the 60-minute game has affected them slightly.
Ooh, I like that. Where their mind's at, how they feeling. Crowd's feeling pretty good about Millennium right now. Huma only 32% to Millennium's 68%. A lot of Millennium fans. French fans coming in strong.
Rod of Ages now completed for Pretty as well, so relatively early, sitting on about 3 stacks. So that is going to gradually go up over time, which means that he is likely to go towards the Morello next, is what I would expect. The cooldown reduction as well as the added mana is always a useful thing to have. But Huma, once again, they have control of the river. They've maintained control over the river throughout the entire game so far. It's going to be the second Ocean Drake. And thank God, they've got a Cloud Drake next to counteract that Ocean. I feel like we've had way too much Ocean right now. It's nice to have a bit more diversity.
Double down on the Oceans for Huma. I don't know what it means for them right now. It definitely means at least 90 extra bonus damage on Elder Drake.
It also means that...
the thing I like about Infernal is it's really easy to calculate tangibly what Infernal's value is, right? Like 8% of 100, that's 8 additional AP.
All right, you want to know what its value is? They stay hydrated. That's what it means, okay? They're feeling refreshed. They're always feeling ready. And to be honest, I feel like that's what I'm seeing in their play, because they're always ready to go for whatever fight comes their way.
All right, I like it. I mean, I don't, but good effort. No, I'm kidding. You're doing good.
Doing good, kid. Keep it up.
I don't want to sound patronizing all the time, but you bring it out in me, man. I don't know what it is.
It's all right. I like to add that value to a cast.
Moving forward, Subjugate hasn't been used yet. Meganar may be on the way in, but Kaze, moving forward, knows that Meganar timing is up, but he's so tanky now. Flash forward, but just back into the wall. Kaze wants to kill. Is he going to be able to get it? Cancel on the auto? No! So close once again to getting a kill, but not going to get it. Kaze walks away empty-handed.
Just slight mismanagement of the flash from Kaze. Rather than flashing in a straight line, he should have flashed ever so slightly to the right to avoid the follow-up stun, and that might have been able to net him a kill, or at the very least, flash for flash in that instant. But you can see now when Kaze starts to abuse the Gnar in his mini form, he can actually come out ahead. But the moment it turns into Mega, the matchup isn't quite as one-sided as that. And you can also see how this Trundle starts to outscale, especially when you go for this very aggressive Ravenous Hydra build, which is very much about damage and about trading and basically turning into the split push presence, which Millenium are trying to set up the 4-1 for later on.
Yeah, and I like the 4-1 option, right? You've got the Gragas, the Ashe, the Morgana, the Zillion, all these great CC options available for your team. Great ways to start the fight, good ways to pull people out from the turret, good ways to disengage. It feels like a very well-rounded composition. What do you think Huma's options are on the opposite side?
For them, well, again, they have good team fighting. Their engage is a little bit harder to set up because they have the Brawn for the disengage, but hang on a second, because look at the flank from JOL. Impaler's there in the flanks too.
Moving forward, they are just going to run out. Frozen Domain used. Joko going to get the disengage. Nice little traffic cone there. Going in. You know, trading across the map, but it feels like after those initial aggressive fights, teams are a little bit more content to just let things go.
If only we saw a random arrow fly down the mid lane. I mean, they have the option. If he didn't have arrow right now, what would be the problem for him? Just see what I'm saying, Sifa? Like, I feel like you could just throw it out there.
Unless Cadril perfectly cleanses, you're guaranteed double bomb follow-up.
You force, yeah, exactly. You force this cleanse at the very least, and then Masterwork could go for the flash, ultimate into binding. There's just loads of options. Tons.
Wendell was on the way in. He smells the arrow. He sees. He sees it the way you see it. The opportunity to go in here.
A lot of Summoner's abilities going a little bit wide. Just warming up, I feel. That's what this is. I feel like they should have warmed up game 1, but maybe not. They need another 20 minutes before they can land those skill shots.
That's harsh, Bettius.
Well, it's the challenge scene.
It's zoning, you know?
Is that what it is?
Abilities. He's not trying to hit him, he's trying to zone him. Trying to get him to... He's creating space. My favorite Dota term of all time, thank you Dota community. Creating space. When you die on one side of the map alone and for absolutely no value, you're like, I was making space for you. Giving you the opportunity to do stuff on the other path. You know, giving you some space. There's 3 people up here, what are you doing?
So in the same sense as you need a space, like a quiet zone for you to get in the zone. Is that what Masterwork was doing there? By throwing out the binding wide, he's allowing Pretty to be in a comfortable space where he can just be with himself.
I feel like there's a line here, and I think that you at some point heard about sports psychologists and misinterpreted completely what they do. It's an out-of-game thing, not an in-game thing, Vedius. Like, Morgana's not roaming mid to give a mental break to this Zillion. You know, like, the sports psychologist stuff is like before the game, you know, like making sure they clear head before they come into the game.
Yeah, but that's what Morgana's doing. He's allowing the groovy Zillion to be groovy. But enough of that, because we have a setup on the top lane. There's not enough response from Millenium.
There's
Arrows
no members here. JWoww potentially in trouble. No, Impaler's going to tank the arrow, but it's too little too late. Huma, they're just going to get that one for free. 2K goal lead now in their favor. We're just going to swag walk his way onto that one on his fists and just be pretty happy with that exchange overall. Pretty continuing to zone Cadril with the bombs.
And now there's no arrow for any kind of re-engage, so they're just running at Impaler, hoping for the best, but nothing gonna come of it. So free tower for Huma, playing the map better, recognizing that Millenium didn't have the numbers to defend it, and it was a good use of the minion waves. And now you can see for Millenium, they have a big minion wave in the bottom half of the map. They're not using that minion wave to set up for a tower when they could have. They have the arrow, so if there's only one person sitting there, you have a great way to set up. And this is why I'm wondering, Millenium, what are you doing? I feel like this game you have more options than you did in the game before, yet you're doing less, which is a little bit unfortunate.
I mean, I like that they went for some aggressive plays early on, but it just hasn't been working out so far.
Honestly, I feel like it was Huma forcing those aggressive plays and Millenium just reacting to it. Because it was Huma the ones that started the Rift Herald, and that's what's resulted in the fight. It was Huma that was invading into Millenium's jungle, and that's what started Millenium to reactively fight. And we haven't seen a blind arrow actually be used to start a fight. It's always been used in response to Huma's aggression.
Well, now Millenium are on the top side, and they're just going to trade a tower back, and it looks like Huma are in the mid lane. They're going to do what they can, but they're moving up to look for the flank here. Tower is going to drop tabs, wants the one more auto, but he's going to leave it to the minions. They are going to get it in the end. Is this going to be the flank that they want? They have the Gragas cast for disengage. Wendelboe is on the way in. TP coming in as well. Huma, are they going to take the fight? They've got the flank. Is it going to change? Wendelboe on the front lines. Double bombs coming in. Arrow going to go wide. Tabs all on his lonesome, but Wendelboe taking so much damage. Joko knocks it back into the team. Down goes the support. Not yet. Yes! Finally, when he drops Tabs immune to the CC, he's free to burn down this Gnar. Impaler just doesn't do anything to him. Joko isn't even going to fall. He has the buff from the Zillion coming in to keep him safe. Cadril going to get the 1v1 on the bottom side. Impaler running for his life. Tabs looking for one more frost shot. But Huma overstep into that fight, and Millenium are more than happy to punish. It's the 1 for 2.
So much space was created by Tabs with that ultimate. It was unbelievable that Millenium were able to come out ahead when things looked so good for Huma. Joko just barely being able to get away. Fortunately, the Land Shark didn't quite have enough damage, and while the Jaws theme track is sounding off, Joko's going to be able to swag his way out of that one. So overall, 2 for 1 in favor of Millenium, but have a look at this. Arrow goes straight in between the goalposts. Wendelboe doing what he can to soak up a lot of the damage. And then, if you just look at the backline for Millenium, this is awful. Their entire backline is left to the JWoww and Impaler duo, but JWoww spends all of his resources trying to kill Masterwork, which is not the target you want to be focusing. It was largely thanks to the black shield that was put on top of him that JWoww felt he didn't have an option, and because of that, he was able to do a lot more. Meanwhile, on the other side, Kaze and Joko were just soaking up all this farm, and then Pretty was just using the bombs to zone out the rest of Huma. So Millenium overall played that fight well, but in terms of execution, Huma just messed up.
Absolutely. I think they got stuck on the idea of going for the flank, and they committed to it despite the fact that things had started to turn against them. They really didn't have the position there towards the end of the fight, but now maybe they're looking to set up the dive. Could have the opportunity. Paler working his way around to the side.
Subjugate did go down from Kaze. Now the Cloud Drake being started off. Arrow is up for Tabs, but they're not in a great position to really contest this. You can see the Gragas trying to come in.
Paler locked down. Is it going to be enough damage? He's going to get it in the end. Nice steal from Joko. Kaze on the back half, though. Chaos Storm starting to burn down the front line of Millenium. Huma, are they going to be able to follow up? Paler goes forward, just going to use the smite. Does tank a bomb in the end. JWoww about to go Mega. Is he going to be able to jump onto Tabs? It doesn't look like it. Moving in. Mega Gnar not coming out. Can they burn him down before he turns? Isn't going to get the hop out. Canceled by the edge of the wall. Tabs now on a killing spree, taking control of this game. Joko moving forward. Joko on the front lines. Cadril doing what he can on the sides, but Millenium swinging this back and evening up the gold.
So this time, JWoww realizes that he needs to get onto the Ash. He has to zone him away from the fight, but he does not respect the amount of kiting that Tabs has available. He's not able to lock down. Wendelboe goes to the re-engage.
Comes in, and Paler gets locked up, but beautiful black shield to save them in the end. Joko gets pulled back in. He's under the tower. Cadril tries to get the damage down, but Huma are just so eager for the fight, and it is not working out for them.
So Huma, they are successfully able to defend the turret, and that's going to force Millenium back. So one less objective on the map stolen away from Huma, and the gold is incredibly even. And As we jump into a replay, bear in mind that Huma have full control over this setup. They have no vision of the arrow. Unlucky for them, the smite is gone. And at this point, they should have just backed off. They should have been, okay, we lost the Baron, there's no need. Masterwork goes down, but look at JWoww. He's trying to go for the 1v1 versus Tabs. He's just getting straight up kited out because he realizes that Joko also coming in from the flank ends up losing his life as well. And then without the big front line available for Huma, they just have to immediately disengage. And I just felt it was too greedy of Huma to continue on with the chase. So it's just, honestly, I feel like both these teams after that 60-minute game are making some very questionable decisions. It doesn't feel like one team is necessarily being the more proactive. Like we saw yesterday, Misfits always trying to force plays and executing them well. It feels like both teams responding to the other team's moves, and then the other team is falling behind because of poor execution.
Yeah, not what we really were expecting from this series. These teams, first game, so passive, second game, so, I mean, often unnecessarily aggressive. We'll have to see if they can temper this out as they move forward. But for now, I mean, neither team with a really big advantage. Huma having the double Ocean Drakes, much more worthwhile than the Cloud, but not going to mean too much unless there's a really extended exchange. And right now, the team fights have been pretty quick. I mean, not nearly as extended, not nearly as about disengage, more about these picks, these opportunities to get in. And with Pretty backing up Millenium with that Chrono Shift, it's going to be very difficult to actually burn down a target on the side of Huma.
This is still a very low kill game, though. Part of it is due to Braum being a big wall that makes it difficult for Tabs to throw out arrows onto key targets because he can just jump in front and act as that shield to keep them alive. But I still feel there are plenty of options for Millenium to force a lot of plays. Just if you look across the vision, yes, the Baron setup is good, but where's their deep vision? Where's the control over Huma's half of the jungle? There is no one on Huma on the map right now. This is a great way for Millenium to try and force things, and they will force this mid-tier 1 turret. But they now need to transition this to vision.
Arrow goes in, Wendelbo going to get chain CC'd here. Are they going to be able to fight? Paler onto the backside. Joko suddenly in trouble, 3 stacks, looking for 4 on the concussive blows, but no one has enough damage to get a kill here. Both teams backing off. Suddenly JWoww's on the flank, he has the Meganar. Can he go in? Maybe looking for a dash forward. Is going to go in. He's going to knock them back. That's the fight that they wanted. Kadril going to get the ult down. Masterwork is going to respawn, but is that the right target for the ult? Morgana suddenly in trouble, knocked up. He's going to get knocked out, and suddenly a member down for Millenium as Huma move into the mid, but the wave clear is simply too much in this exchange.
Millenium weren't quite able to burn through JWoww, and that was very fortunate for them because Wendelbo burning so much to keep the rest of his team alive, and now Joko has to try and keep the Baron alive, but he's
not what he wanted. Concussive blows, making sure the Gragas gets locked up. Crystalline grabbing a kill. Wendelbo moving in, the flash forward, potentially too over-aggressive, but Huma now setting their sights on the Baron as they back off. Moving in, Pink Ward dropped. Starting to burn this one down. Tabs, Arrow is available. He's ready to use it if he needs to, but Wendelbo is up and ready to block. Pretty going in. Arrow does go down. Wendelbo does not block it. They're going to burn. Double bomb, making sure Kadril drops as well. That is a huge turn for Millenium. Shut down for Tabs, and the fight keeps going. Double kill. JWoww, freeze frame on that air shot. They're going to be able to move in. That's a triple kill for Tabs. The Baron. Now Millenium are turning it once again.
This was the arrow that I've been looking for all game. Tabs finally finds the pick. They're able to turn the fight, and now because they have the numbers, they're able to transition over to this Baron and pick themselves up a major objective and start to gain control over this game.
And that's a massive gold lead, moving up to 4K as we get into this replay.
So the first arrow gets used onto Wendelbo to try and stop the disengage of Huma from Millenium taking this turret. Then Millenium, they take the turret, there's a bit of back and forth skirmishing, and now they just want to get away from the fight. Masterwork is unfortunately stuck on the back end. He eats a huge culling. He tries to keep his team alive, but a big 4-man ultimate from JWoww is enough to help his team, and then a great heal onto JWoww is actually enough to get him out of harm's way. Masterwork goes down.
Twice.
And at this point, Huma feels, okay, we can go for the Baron. Bear in mind that there's the teleport available onto Pretty. Joko trying to set up vision around the Baron as well, loses his life. And then this looks like a free Baron for Huma. They have everything that they need. They have plenty of healthy members. There's not enough damage on the side of Millenium, or so they think.
And here comes the
Arrow
double bomb.
Comes down onto Wendelbo. The double stun onto Kadril means that not only is that front line gone, but also one of the big damage dealers. And then because Kaze has the revive, they're not even able to kill the tank, and Millenium can transition that into the Baron.
And now Millenium are setting their sights on this tier 2. You can see what this has wrought then. Wendelbo suddenly getting locked up and burned out. protecting the single cannon creep. Tabs sped up. It's impossible to get away from that Ashe. JWoww moving forward. Kaze has to be careful on this exchange. Does have ultimate available, though. Should be relatively easy. Just going to BM with the dance there. Taking fancy footwork in a new direction on that dance. And Millenium, I mean, they're going to keep pushing in the mid lane here, and I don't really know what Huma are going to be able to do to stop them.
Well, they do have the wave clear from Victor, but he is being forced back right now due to the zoning of these Zillion bombs. And this is actually a great setup for Millenium. So much more confidence, quickly being able to take this turret down, and they've got it.
That's exactly where they want to be. Inhibitor could be next. Kaze pushing in the bottom lane as well. It looks like they do not want the inhibitor. Instead, they're going to set their sights on a second tower. Have to see if they're going to overextend, though. One wrong move, and Huma could turn it back. Tower slowly burning down. Cass comes in to just disengage. Now Millenium are running for their lives, and Paler wants to engage, but it doesn't look like there's going to be a response on the opposite side. Knockup goes in. JWoww, can he get the follow-up? Meganar on the way in. The chain CC comes out. He's not going to get anything. Joko in trouble. Dashes his way out. Tabs, godlike, unstoppable with that black shield. He's dashing forward, but Kadril doesn't want to give this up quite so easy. My God, Millenium controlling the map, controlling the fight, making sure, keeping the Gnar on a leash, saying you're never going to make it into our backline.
Pretty and Tabs are making such a great combo, simply due to the fact that this Zillion can constantly speed up the Ashe. It means that a lot of the issues that Ashe originally has are largely compensated for because you have the black shield, you have the mobility, and you can just constantly reposition in these fights and do the damage that you need to. Tabs is doing so much work in these games thanks to the support that Pretty is able to provide him.
Yeah, now Impaler, you know, stepping in, wants to make those aggressive plays back. But Masterwork ensuring that his team is safe. Black Shield really counting so hard against Huma. And, you know, Morgana, not always the most practical pick, but working out so well for Millenium.
So have a look at this. Wendelboe eats the binding, gets knocked back by the Gragasol. Another questionable ultimate from Joko, but Kaze stays a little bit too long on the front line. Then just keep your eyes on Tab. Arrow onto JWoww. He's just standing there. Look at how much movement speed as well as the Black Shield, mitigating so much of the damage, so much of the CC, and he can just continue to be aggressive, force the cleanse out from Kadril, and it was just because of the amount of support Tabs had. So, I mean, you have to look at this Zillion pick and go, I mean, this is the new Lulu, the new and improved, because he's doing such a great job of allowing these hyper carries to perform.
Absolutely. Tab's going to set his sights on the inhibitor. One shot, two shot, already down to half health. Only going to take a few more. Huma doing their best to defend it. They know once the inhibitors drop, this is when the defense gets very difficult for them overall. Paler wants to clear a bit of vision. Knows he can't. Arrow goes down, but he gets the tunnel animation out, so he'll still make it to safety. Double bomb to zone. Millenium slowly moving in. No more Baron buff to back them up, but they're happy to have an 8K gold lead. Just instead. Moving forward. Thing's going to drop. Wendelboe goes in. Joko knocking back the team. Suddenly he's all alone. Pop goes the support. Wendelboe getting knocked down in that exchange. Chaos Storm comes out to look for some disengage, but Huma are struggling to get anything back. The bindings coming out left and right. The double bombs as follow-up. Flash in from JWoww. Black Shield to keep the Morgana safe. Pretty in trouble. Is going to get the Mercurial down in the end, and he's going to make it out. Moving in. JWoww locked up. JWoww going to fall. Millenium taking control. They can end the game. Next inhibitor set to fall. Crisland all on his lonesome. Flash forward from Kaze. He's unstoppable. Tabs legendary as Kadril set to fall. Millenium are going to be able to move up 2-0 in this series after a beautiful performance as a team, and Tabs showing up.
So Millenium in 35 minutes find the fights that they need, and after a clean secure or a clean take back of the Baron, they regain control of this game, and they're going to take this series 2-0 in the best of 5 and make their way steadily towards the finals to potentially meet Misfits.
Definitely one more win, all that's left ahead of them. And a fantastic performance coming in from Millenium. Huma really struggling there overall, and I think we can definitely say that that was completely different from game one. An absolutely commanding victory overall.
I completely agree with you, and to be totally honest, early game did look messy from Millenium, largely because they were in weird places on the map. A lot of the early picks that Huma got were just punishing Millenium for their poor understanding of what to be doing and where they should be.
And the thing is, I feel like just the way that they adapted their pick ban wasn't to what's best in the meta. It was to what's going to be best against Huma. Zillion, Morgana feels so good against them. The Black Shield, it feels like they're not used to playing around it. And additionally, the Zillion ult, so many times they would commit. We're going to blow up Masterwork. that's where it comes back.
But this was something that we talked about early on, where as a team, Millenium have a tendency to play more towards their bottom lane, and they will allow Tabs to be that hyper carry. And this time, they build a 4-1 composition. They wanted to set up their top laner to be that split push threat, and he got to that point on the Trundle. We saw him soloing out the Gnar multiple times, even with the Rift Herald buff, and that eventually allowed enough time for this Ashe to get the 3 items, become this hyper carry. And when you have a Zilean and a Morgana, and with no real backline threat on the side of Huma, then there are so many options. And moving forward, I feel like they need to look at taking... I mean, in Game 1, we saw the Jhin. In Game 2, we've seen the Ashe. Obviously, Tabs has a diverse champion pool, but Kristen needs to change up, because this Lucian is not showing up.
Absolutely just
it's not
doing
good.
Anything. It's not good. I mean, the reality is Kristen is clearly a very talented player, but Lucian is just not performing in the way that they need it to. And
I like the Braum. I felt like the Braum was really good at disengaging a lot of the potential picks that Ashe tried to set up. But I also think the Millenium could have been more proactive. And Joko, there were many things about his Gragas that I didn't like.
To be honest, Joko did have some great disengage ult, but he could never land those nice engage
the thing is, like, that's fine. The disengage, he seemed to nail. Great. If we can stop fight, sure. But every time he tried to start them, it was always just like, I'm going to hold it, going to hold it, going to hold it. No, they've gone, Joko. Oh, I'll throw my ult out. And then, like, oh, okay, you need to be a little bit more proactive, a little bit more on the ball. But other than that, he still played what his team needed him to be, which was this frontline tank. He was great at disengage. For the 4-1, which is exactly what you need, the disengage is there for him. And, I mean, yes, if Millenium keep this up, they are going to take a clean 3-0 over Huma, which to me is a little bit of a surprise.
I think it's a little generous to call it clean. The last game, relatively clean.
Yes,
but the first game was very back and forth. That's why I think it's hard for me to imagine them taking it just so confidently in 3-0, because I feel like if Huma can adjust, it's just as easily their game, because each and every one of these games has been very close.
And I think that the drafts haven't helped that much. As we move forward, hopefully in Game 3, now Millenium will have identified, okay, we picked a more engage-heavy draft, we identified what we did and didn't do wrong, and I felt like as a team, Millenium they've expressed it multiple times on Twitter that they are very aware of their issues and they're very quick to identify the problems. So moving forward, we have to look at both teams. Okay,
Absolutely.
How well do we adapt, or are we just going to let our emotions get the better of us?
We're going to have to figure that out. Of course, the series now stands at 2-0 in favor of Millenium, but when we return, it is match point. Stay with us, because we're going to be back in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Just so long, Kaze caught out, knocked up, not even to get the chance to ult. Oh no! Zilean gonna bring it back to life. JWoww in trouble though. Second bomb, Meganar! Oh my god! That was so close, they're moving out. No, suddenly the Chaos Storm, Kaze, he's gonna fall! What a back and forth exchange. Window does not block it, they're gonna burn. Double bomb, making sure Candle drops as well. That is a huge turn for Millenium. Shut down for Tabs, and the fight keeps going. Double kill, JWoww, freeze frame on that air shot. They're gonna be able to move in. That's a triple kill for Tabs.